weakness is merely the expression of fear.
Well, what if a woman were not considered merely a man's property and were free to choose her own husband?
Hey everyone, and welcome to TalkWord. Sometimes there are words we use all the time, thinking we know exactly what they mean. But what if one of those words had a secret power? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain on one of those exact words, merely. So I bet you're thinking, merely? Isn't that just a fancy way to say only or just? And, you're not wrong, but you're not entirely right either. There's this hidden layer to it, a feeling that can totally change the vibe of your sentence. So let's dig in and see what's really going on. All right, first things first, we're going to start with the basics, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Yes, at its core, merely can mean only or just. But trust me, that is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, if you look it up in the dictionary, this is what you get. Only as specified and nothing more. Simply. Pretty straightforward, right? But that definition, well, it barely scratches the surface of what this word can actually do. Okay, and this is where it gets really, really interesting. The real magic of this word isn't in its literal meaning. No, the secret is in the emotion, the subtle feeling it adds. And once you get this, you're going to sound so much more precise when you speak. So let's talk about that secret feeling. We're calling it the power to minimize, because that's exactly what merely does. When you use it, you're not just saying only, you're also kind of hinting that whatever you're talking about is small, simple, or just not that important. Okay, check this out. On the left, we have a simple, neutral fact. He followed the instructions. No drama, just information. But now look at the right. He merely followed the instructions. Whoa, can you feel that? That one little word adds this whole layer of judgment. It makes it sound like he didn't show any creativity, like he did the bare minimum. It minimizes his effort. You've totally heard this one before, right? Imagine a kid falls down, gets a little scrape. This is the classic thing you say to make them feel better. It's a perfect real-world example of using merely to downplay something. So let's break that phrase down. The literal meaning is, yeah, it is only a scratch. But what's the hidden feeling? It's that the scratch is no big deal, that it's not important. The real message you're sending is, hey, don't worry about this. Everything's fine. Here's another great one. Something you might hear in a more professional setting. This sentence is just a masterclass in managing how people feel about a situation. It's all about reframing a problem. And if we pull this one apart, it's the same idea. By saying merely a temporary setback, the speaker is basically saying, hey, don't panic. This is small. We can handle it. It projects the sense of confidence and control, all thanks to that one word. All right, time for the main event. Let's put merely head-to-head with only. Figuring out the difference here is going to help you choose exactly the right word to get the feeling you're going for. This table really lays it all out. So look at function. Only just limits something, but merely limits and minimizes. Now for feeling, only is pretty neutral, just a fact, but merely suggests something is unimportant. And finally, formality. You can use only pretty much anywhere, but merely feels just a little bit more formal. Okay, so you get the secret power now, right? Awesome. Now let's talk about how you can actually start using merely and feel totally confident about it. Here's a super simple 3-step checklist. First, ask yourself, do I just mean only or just? If the answer is yes, go to step 2. Do I also want to make this thing sound kind of small or unimportant? If that's a yes, then finally for step 3, consider your situation. Is it a little more formal, like maybe in writing? If you answered yes to all 3, then merely is probably the perfect word. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? Such a tiny, small change, just one word, can completely shift the entire feeling of what you're trying to say. Getting these little details right is what takes your English to the next level. So that kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? The English language is packed with words like this. Words that seem so simple on the surface, but they're hiding these secret meanings. What are some other words you think might have a hidden life? It's a pretty cool treasure hunt when you think about it. So the next time you're about to say only, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, wait, do I actually mean merely? It's a small change that can make a huge difference. And hey, if you had fun diving deep into this word, you should definitely check out the TalkWord mobile app. You can actually create your own little English word explainers, just like this one. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on TalkWord, and keep exploring.
And you'll see that this rough around the edges persona is merely skin deep.
In other words, they do not construe hiddenness merely or primarily in terms of entities' relations to human beings.